Alright, next up, more destroying internal forces of the alien.
Wait a minute, I just realized something
What?
in the movie.
What?
Now we're going to return
The main character didn't say, "You sunk my battleship!" he said in the trailer.
I haven't seen the trailer, so I cannot comment on
I
that.
just remember
That is
seeing
right,
that in the
though, yeah.
commercials. I was waiting for it.
Well, Dad, somebody else talked about sinking the battleship, just not the main character. It's kind of like with the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie.
Universal at the box office.
Well, okay. Hold on. It's kind of like, you know the original Alvin and the Chipmunks 2007 live-action feature? Originally, one of the commercials showcased Alvin having to eat crap. Literally.
Ugh.
But,
I guess
thankfully...
that didn't happen in the movie.
No, it didn't. Instead, it was, I think it was Simon and whatnot. Whatever. Basically, it actually was, it thankfully did not happen in the movie, is all. Yeah, that's the thing about the...
Sam Riegel, what are you doing here again?
He's Officer Cole Mathis.
Leave the game as soon as you can, please.
Well, I mean, he's got to pay his bills somehow. I mean, Persona 4 couldn't pay him all.
This was unfortunately a year before he would finally be solidified as the de facto voice for Phoenix, right?
Plus, I mean, he needed solid work. Remember, a few years ago, the 2003 Turtles show ended.
Actually, Java, Ultimate Marvel 3 was in 2011.
No,
this was a year after.
But Tio, I said before he was solidified as the main new voice actor for Phoenix.
I think the first appearance was enough.
Yeah, he was Donatello in the 2003 TMNT show.
Tio. Capcom tends to change voice actors on a dime. So, and not only that, but having Phoenix's first...
True, Joe, but I was talking more about the fact, now that we know, yeah, it was the same, I might as well count the first appearance.
Well, Tio, I said when he was solidified, not when he started off, though, like... That's the thing, Dual Destinies is what solidified him. Ultimate Marvel vs.
Oh wait,
Capcom
you mean solidified as in being cast again, not, him actually being better at the role?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Solidified is in like, well, it was pretty much confirmed that he would be the mainstay, as opposed to him being better at the role. Like, and I will give Ben Judd this, for as much controversies as the guy has racked up, he did give some amazing objection, hold it, and takes that as Phoenix, which are still iconic to this day.
You know one thing about the dubbing of the Ace Attorney anime that was a bit odd?
You mean the fact that they had Trunks voicing Phoenix?
No, what I mean is,
Wait, that was Trunks?
Yep, Eric Vale.
Anyway, what I mean is, they had Sam Riegel in the show, but he wasn't voicing Phoenix.
He voices LT Gray.
Yeah, that was
It was like when they did the dubbing for Danganronpa 3, the anime. You had at least one or two of the game VAs back, and one of them voices an entirely different character.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
No, it's Crash Bandicoot 4 did that with Corey Burton, because he voiced Entropy in CTR and the Insane Trilogy. Then he voices Engine in Crash 4, and not Entropy.
That reminds me, if I recall correctly, Roger Craig Smith is the one who voiced Embryo in Crash 4, as well as he also technically voices Crash in certain contexts.
No, I thought he was the voice of the narrator at the end of the game. Not the post-credit scenes. Like this game is officially canon unless you like it.
Well, again, I mean, I think you mentioned series changing voice actors on a dime, Jova. I think Crash Bandicoot's fallen into that trap now.
Oh,
because before Roger voiced Embryo, it was Tom Kenny in CTR.
And before Tom Kenny, it was Maurice LaMarche.
Luis.
I mean, they changed Coco's VA for some reason.
That was baffling.
I think it had to do with union and scheduling.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Eden Reigel's fine, but
I definitely prefer Debbie Derrybear. I'm sorry.
But, especially since she's been voicing the character for that long, to suddenly change to Hifumi from Persona 5 is a bit odd.
But that's the thing. Debbie Derryberry was she was basically the Mike Pollock of Crash Bandicoot. Like, she had been pretty much the definitive voice for that particular character.
That's Greg Eagles for Fukuoka.
Greg Eagles wasn't around nearly as long as
radical
Barry.
era.
And oh, trust me, Dad. I love having the Grim Reaper voice Aku Aku. Like, for as much as I did not like the Crash of the Titans duology here and there, Greg Eagles as Aku Aku was definitely one of the additions I
Do you
did
think they
like.
got him to voice Aku Aku because he voiced Grim?
Probably.
You remember we went
Think of irony.
they went through a whole people who got casted and newly people casted they went for a mall association. Sure, you have already Kevin Michael Richardson for Crunch, but for some reason they gave him a Mr. T impression. Whatever.
Hey, speaking of Grim Adventures of
I mean, it was better than Tiny Tiger having a be like Tyson.
That's bold of you to assume that thing is supposed to be Tiny Tiger.
Yeah, I mean, he's not even the same species.
Oh, wait. You were speaking of Billy and Mandy. Crash 4 is technically a pseudo Billy and Mandy reunion.
It has Billy in it as one of the
Lowly
masks.
voices Billy.
So now all that's missing is for Nina to be voiced by Mandy eventually.
Or someone else. She can voice someone else.
That's it though. Yeah, okay. I get the feeling that the part of the reason they hired Greg Eagles back in the day, and mind you, this was before Mel Winkler had even died, so yeah, it was kind of baffling when they replaced him. I get the feeling that they installed Greg Eagles as Aku Aku to fit with the more comedic tone that the radical entertainment games were going for at that point. Now, thankfully, Greg Eagles has...
Do you think at that point the original actor was just retired from voice acting, or was he still doing work?
No. From what I recall, he was still in the acting field. It was just that they replaced him.
Yeah, it was that. I mean, it's still a kind of a weird era now. It's like people say Sonic's voice acting cast is inconsistent.
Honestly, acting casters in general.
It's because Sega hates unions.
It's all over the place, Dweebs.
Which is interesting because from what I can tell, I mean, since they're both cut from the same cloth to an extent, Crash and Spyro seem to be going for both union and non-union at the same time.
I'll just say this: I feel like companies in general would get so much done better with the voice acting community if they just paid voice actors better. And I don't get.
Yeah, look. Here's an example: the Trials of Cold Steel game.
Oh,
apparently the latest. Wait, what?
Trails, not Trials.
Yeah. Trails. Sorry, I'm tired. The Trails series. Apparently, the last installment that they made, they got everybody back because there's over 100 characters, and they even got Johnny Young Bosch to reprise his role.
Okay, we'll say these.
I think one of them changed.
I will say many things
about. They did their best to get almost everybody.
I will say many things about NIS. Especially NIS America, when it comes to their, localization, especially what they did to the Trails franchise, from sweeping it from Crossseed. But at the very least, they tried to stay consistent with voice acting choosing, kind of like Square Enix. Again, think of regardless of what you think of what happened to the CNT, one thing that Square managed to do was to get every single voice actor that a character had previously, including Elijah Alexander for Vane, who has that as his only video game role because he's an actual Shakespearean theater actor. But they actually managed to get him back for that.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That is actually pretty impressive.
Okay, well, it is kind of fun. Considering Crash and Spyro's new approach to voice acting, casting at least anyway. It was kind of funny. Again, it's probably just me, but it was kind of funny how on the Reignite the trilogy half the Phantom Thieves were in the game.
Well, it's kind of a thing that that kind of batch of voice actors, and at this point is now the new fresh blood for the voice acting community, because for instance Atlus recycled pretty much the entire cast of Persona 5 for the English dub of Megaten
anime.
for no Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. I'm telling that. Of course, for the anime, the voice actors to come back. But what I'm telling is that for Apocalypse, they had for the cast, the English voice cast, for the characters, the actual voice actors from Persona 5, and that can kind of stick out because they try to juggle a bit in terms of not giving the same type of archetypical role. For example, your character is not voiced by Xander Mobus, for example. And to be fair, Xander Mobus actually does put up an impression, but most of the other voice actors involved, like Cassandra Lee Morris or Max Mittelman, don't really try to sound different from how we sound in Persona 5, so that can become a bit distracting. And it's a contribution of what Apocalypse has been slightly criticized for, as to try to pander to the Persona fan base in some ways, but that's a story for another time.
But don't worry, you've got that upcoming remaster featuring Dante from Devil May Cry.
And judging from the trailer, Ray Chase as one of the main villainous characters. That is pretty neat.
Oh yeah, because the original English release of the game didn't
had
have
no voice acting, aside from grunts during the battle, which for the time being, waves from the PS2, having every single demon from the compendium actually fully in 3D and with voice grunts was relatively impressive. Keep in mind that Mega 10 has mostly been about 2D hand-drawn sprites, still sprites, not even that much moving. So jumping from the 3D, Atlus managed to, for all of its catalog, managed to, construct games with a particular engine that worked flawlessly, and they used it for all of their releases, Persona 3 and 4, the Raido Kutsunoa duology, the Digital Devil Saga duology, and Nocturne. It's a shame they kinda sorta dropped it, and they keep in mind that the Persona 5 engine works just as fine. But again, it's still pretty impressive for what they did back in the PS2 era, and it's showcased for the fact that the remaster of Nocturne looks even better than it looked, back on the PS2, and it looks almost on par with a lot of games these days.
Oh yeah, you know that. Speaking of Spyro and Persona connections, I just found that. You know the guy who voiced Moneybags in Reignited trilogy?
Isn't it the same that voices the Dick Professor in the NAC duology? Forgot the name.
I don't know about that, but I know he voices the dad character from Persona 4.
Go ahead.
I get the feeling that you probably would be quite fascinated by the way my country does voice acting, because of our speciality and versatility. We get a lot of interesting matches. Like, for example, the same guy who voices Goku also voices Olaf in the Frozen movies.
So, it's kind of the thing. Sorry, go on.
So we have a lot of like we even have most of our Disney princesses are voiced by the same actress, basically.
It's kind of the same thing here. Since we don't, it's similar situation similar to Japan. We have good people that sound really good, but sadly there are not much. Meaning that we have to do juggling and recycling a bit all over the place. But to be fair, like I just said, these people are still really good. So most of the time they are a viable alternative, if not sometimes even better. I mentioned this to Pedro. Yes, Jova?
These aliens are morphing into these spiky rollerballs. Why?
They're not morphing, they're just tossing it. They're kind of like one of the things that the enemy ships can toss onto the ground.
That's the weird thing, though.
Why don't you play Wonderful 101?
With the way they're animated, it looks like they're turning into the spiky balls that are coming at you.
It looked a bit fuzzy because I was actually in critical health mode.
I don't think critical health mode should be that bad looking, but okay. You know what this game reminds me of?
What?
No.
Well, you raised the point, so go ahead.
Okay, wait, let me take a guess. Alien vs. Predator?
Nope, but you're close. Well, maybe not. Okay, here's what this game reminds me of. Metal Gear Survive. Wanna know why it reminds me?
Oh yeah, because that's totally
Alright,
Alien and Predator.
Okay, Jova, to be honest, the better comparison I can expect from this is Aliens Colonial Marines.
Let me explain. It reminds me of Metal Gear Survive in the sense where Metal Gear Survive literally starts with the main cast flying the heck away from where you are. It's almost like the game saying, oh, you want to enjoy this enjoyable campaign here? Sorry, nope, you can't. And you're essentially exiled to a much less fun plane of existence here and there.
I don't have to constantly regulate my drinking meter.
Oh yeah, and you don't have to pay $10 for a save file.
Okay, to be honest, I don't even remember if this game allows you different types of save file as a thing, or you're stuck with just one.
My point is like, well, this game feels like you're trapped on an island of banality, and you're only briefly allowed to go out to the seas of fun, and even then the supposed sea of fun is over as soon as it begins, if you can even call it fun to begin with here and there. Like, seriously, it's hard to imagine everyone did this with a straight face thinking, yep, this will totally sell well with word of mouth. I mean, and even by 2012, word of mouth was very much a thing, so I don't know if they thought they would truly get away with this, or if people would really laugh this off.
Not just, again, Jova, the thing that baffles me the most, which is not anything exclusive to this game, I know, and thankfully this day has been toned down at least considerably, but again, it baffles me that, as Angry also pointed out, on the same release day as Diablo 3 and Max Payne 3, regardless of what you think of those, think of the brand name alone, Max Payne 3, Diablo 3, this game was released for $60 with the fucking stupid coupon thing for American release. This is just insane.
Okay. Let's imagine that people are somewhat excited for this game here. Well, you put it alongside two big juggernauts here and there, which wasn't going to do it any favors either. Again, unless you were bringing your absolute A game, maybe you might want to reconsider something. And that's the thing, honestly. This game has similar bits to those games in the sense of gameplay here, run and gun stuff here and there. Again, why not have had this be more focused on the battleships? Enable combat.
Maybe, in the case of Max Payne 3, maybe Activision were hoping that because it took 9 years for Max Payne 3 to come out, that people wouldn't care about it.
Well, joke was on them in that regard. Like, that's the thing. Yes, delays can annoy some people, but if that game is ultimately very, very, very good at least, people might be willing to forgive.
Well, that's the thing, though. I've heard a lot of nice things about Max Payne.
Oh yeah.
No, okay, that's why I mentioned if, regardless of what you think, on a name alone, you again making the content. It's like if the Fast and Furious video game was released, let's say, simultaneously to, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption 2, you just don't do that. You know that your game is a license tied to a movie, you know that it has probably its own type of audience. You shouldn't really compete with an actual AAA release that has been marketing the hell out of their own, dev team and publisher. It's just common sense for this kind of thing.
The real sad thing about Furious, Fast and the Furious Crossroads was the fact that game had no right to be as bad as it was, because it was
the last game that they showed off the game.
Again, like I said, Jova, regardless of the quality of the actual game, I was speaking theoretically on marketing alone.
Oh yeah. I agree with you. What I was bringing up to you was like, well.
No, only the kazoo cover, thank you.
But yeah, Tio, I bring that up to your point in the sense like, well, Fast and Furious Crossroads, while being a licensed game, that was a licensed game that people did have reasons to be hype about. For one thing, it was something saved as the big finale for the Game Awards of that year, but also consider this, it was being developed by one of the few studios who has actually had a very good track record with licensed tie-in games. It was actually Vin Diesel's own funded studio, I forget the name, but they also made video games based off of stuff like, well, The Chronicles of Riddick, which managed to give its own original story about Riddick while actually being a very well and acclaimed game here and there. They may not have been the most well-known, and yeah, I still do agree with your point about pitting it against something like Red Dead Redemption 2.
It's not exactly what happened, Jova, but I was just making a theoretical example because if I distinctly correctly, they came out the same year in not too many months at distance, and I was only taking like a game that is blatantly a licensed tie-in game to instead, its own original AAA release of that kind. It's another thing where the two things kind of get mixed, like say Warner Bros. Making say a game about the Lord of the Rings, like with the Middle Earth, Shadow War, Shadow Mordor games, since that is a bit of a step up compared to that. But this particular type of games, like this one, this very blatant, cash in. They need their own minor solitary spot if they want to succeed Disney, especially again if you want to sell it at $60. But why would you do that?
And again, consider this. Oh wait, hold on, one more thing. And again, consider this: you're releasing essentially a watered-down Call of Duty.
Again, no multiplayer, anything. Go ahead, Liz.
Hey, Jovi, you're on the subject of that Fast and Furious game you mentioned.
Yes.
I'm gathering quite a few people were cross at the road that game took.
Okay, Dweebs, actually, let's make your interjection a bit more productive. Remind me again, when did Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2 HD came out?
Last year.
And how much did it cost at launch?
I can't remember. I think I got mine at a sale.
If I recall correctly, it came out at $40.
And you have to remember, it was an actual, polished Saddle remix. It still kept most of the licensed tracks, meaning that the price value had that going for, and it was actually, in good quality and still an enjoyable game. So for that kind of release, especially tied again to Activision, I can understand more. Now I don't remember against who was it pit, but maybe I will save it for the next part. Which reminds me, finally, next time, we finish the game because we confront the big mothership, the one where we saw also at the end of the movie. And you'll see exactly how we take it down.
Oh no, the game's almost over.
You'll see. See ya.
See ya.